Hello everyone, Wayne from the CERN Earth and Space Center here. In today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at one of the constellations in our sky. You can see it right behind me, and that is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. He's also known as the 13th Zodiac constellation, and we'll take a closer look at some of the deep sky objects we can find within this group of stars, as well as talk a little bit about why it is called the 13th Zodiac. So let's jump right in. So here we are, standing in front of the CERN Earth and Space Center at Triton College in River Grove, Illinois. We have our date set for June 25th and our time set for 10 o'clock at night. So that is a good time to go out and take a look. And if we turn towards the southern/southeastern part of the sky, then we'll be looking towards Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is not a terribly bright or close together group of stars. It's a rather large constellation in the sky, but a good way to help you find it is near Scorpius in the sky, and if you look and you see a very bright object, that is the planet Jupiter, which will be rising up in the southeastern part of the sky right around this time, and that is actually inside of Ophiuchus's shape there, which goes to show us that the shape of Ophiuchus does cross that ecliptic line. And I'll bring up our ecliptic here so we can see that this jutting out part, which is part of the sort of leg of Ophiuchus there, does cross across that ecliptic line. And that is kind of what makes it a zodiac group of stars, because it does pass along the area where all the other zodiac stars are, much like Scorpius the Scorpion. If I bring up the boundary for that, we'll see it is a good chunk of it is right there over the ecliptic, passing through all of the zodiac constellations. So Ophiuchus is said to be the 13th zodiac sign, even though it's not one of the traditional 12 that you would use for astrology and looking up your horoscope, but that just goes to show you that astrology isn't really based in scientific observations very much. Because if it were, then we would have 13 signs, and Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, would be one of them. There are a couple of interesting deep sky objects in Ophiuchus. Not only can you see Jupiter up there, which you don't need a telescope to find that. It's pretty easy. If you do have a telescope, definitely take a look at it because it is quite fascinating. But there are some other interesting things there too. And so let's turn off our atmosphere to get a better look at some of these things. And if we zoom in near this area where Jupiter is and down here near Scorpius, there is a very interesting cloud structure. And let me turn on our labels here so we can see it a little bit better. There we go. So it's called the Rho Ophiuchus Nebula. And it is a nebula structure, a cloud-forming, a star-forming nebula in outer space. It's one of the closest to Earth. It's about 460 light years away from us. And this is a region of space where new stars are being formed in the sky. And it is also a place where we have discovered things like brown dwarfs. Brown dwarfs are objects that are not quite big enough, not massive enough to start the process of fusion, so they're not quite stars. But they're also much larger than the larger gas giants like Jupiter or Saturn. So they're kind of in between. They don't fuse helium into hydrogen, but they are a little bit bigger and more massive than gas giants like Jupiter. And all of these can be found in Rho Ophiuchus Nebula over here, a very interesting spot in the sky. See these dark cloud structures where all the gases are there. And there are some other things like other nebulas here, as well as some interesting star clusters, such as the Gumball globular cluster, which we can see here. Now, star clusters are a group of stars that usually are relatively newly formed. They haven't moved away from each other gravitationally yet, and that is kind of what we can see here. It's called an open cluster up there in the sky. And these are some of the cool things that you can find in the constellation of Ophiuchus. Well, thank you everyone for taking a look at the sky with me today. Again, my name is Wayne from the CERN Earth and Space Center here at Triton College in River Grove. Now remember, the important thing for you to do is get out there and take a look at your nighttime skies.